Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K Facebook Live. And today I'm going to show you a fun card that I made with the Nuts About Squirrels stamp set, which I think is kind of a fun one. That's in the mini catalog, the current mini catalog. And like I said, it's a cute one, good for birthdays and kind of generally fall cards or anything, anything fun that you want to do. So this is the card that we're going to be making today. And like I said, it's pretty simple, just a little embossing, a little die cutting, a little bit of stamping, and we'll be all done with it. So, hey, Bree, thanks for hopping in today. Appreciate you being here, and hope that you're having a good day. All right, so we've got, again, this is the card we're going to be making using the Nuts About Squirrels stamp set, which, again, is one of the fun ones from the mini catalog. Hey, Melanie and Karen, thanks for joining. It's a really cute set. It's one of the two-step stamping ones. So there are some images here, like you've got your little outline of your squirrel, and then this is the fill-in of the squirrel, and then this fills in the little acorn. This one fills in this squirrel, and then the leaves and the veins in the leaves are designed to stamp one on top of the other. So hey, Susan and Kay and Bonnie and anybody else that I missed, thanks for hopping in today and saying hello. I appreciate you being here. So this is the stamp set, again, kind of fun little sentiments in it, and like I said, it's just a cute set and a lot of fun to play with. Good for fall birthdays, although you could use it really any time of the year, but the leaves and things you can make be fall colors. But again, if you didn't want to do fall, you could definitely do all the leaves green or shades of green or whatever, and then you'd have a nice spring card or whatever. Squirrels are around kind of all the time. So, oh, you're getting the stamp set next, Donna. It's a cute one. You're going to love it. Hey, Diana, thanks for hopping in, and Debbie as well. All right, so that is the stamp set. A couple of other things I used on the card. I used the Tasteful Labels dies, this one in particular, which is the little banner die that's got the stitches around it. I used that one for the sentiment. Hey, Marilyn, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a fun card and a fun little stamp set. And then, of course, my ever favoritist die set in the whole world, the stitched rectangle dies. And I used the third largest one to cut out kind of the main focal panel for the card front. So that was a super simple one. Just a little die cutting on that. And I did use the Time Worn Type embossing folder. This is one of the 3D embossing folders, and it is in the new mini catalog as well. And so I use that for the background. Hopefully you can tell that on here. Again, I know sometimes lighting is weird and it doesn't always show up very well, but it shows up pretty well in the pictures that you'll see on my blog tomorrow, which again, all the details are going to be posted for this project tomorrow on my blog, which is stampwithamyk.com. I almost said stampwithamyk.com. So feel free to hop out there and subscribe to my blog if you're not already, and then you'll get all the details for this card as well as all the other ones that I make too. One thing to remind you of really quickly, hey Penny, glad that you're here and glad that you like my card. It's a fun one today. So one thing I wanted to remind you about, the Eden's Garden product suite is going to be available beginning November 2nd through January 3rd while supplies last on the papers and the gems. So it's very, very pretty. There's a stamp and die set. The stamp and die set and the bundle pricing will be in the next mini catalog. So it'll be in the January to June 2022, which is hard for me to say that. And remember that we're almost at 2022, but the bundle will be in the next catalog. The Designer Series paper, which is absolutely stunning, you're going to want it, and the cotton paper and the gems will not. So those items are only while supplies last. So if you love them as much as I do, make sure that you get them ordered and order a couple of them while you're at it so that you're able to continue to use them once they run out. There's also, you can get the full collection as well with just one item number. But again, you don't have to order it all together. You can order the individual pieces. And again, this will be available beginning on November 2nd. So let me know if you have any questions about that. And let's get going on the card. So I did a little bit of cutting and embossing ahead of time. So this is a panel of crumb cake cardstock, and I have it cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And again, the measurements will all be out on my blog tomorrow, and you may want to double check them because a lot of times I say the wrong numbers because I guess math on the fly is hard for me. And it's crumb cake cardstock, if I didn't say that already, and I've got a crumb cake card base here, and I'm just adding multi-purpose liquid glue all over the front of it. And we're just going to adhere the layer to the card front. Sometimes I get questions about why I put a layer over the top if it's the same color. You don't have to, but I just find that it gives it a little bit cleaner look and it's a little bit easier to maneuver in the die cutting machine if I'm not trying to shove a card front through. So to me, it is easier just to emboss the panel and then adhere it with liquid glue to the card front so that you can't really tell that it's two separate pieces. And the other thing is sometimes some of the embossing folders warp the cardstock quite a bit, and so it gets all funky and curly, and it's hard to get it put through straight if you're doing a card front that you're embossing. So that's why I usually layer them. So if you're wondering, if you watch my videos and wonder why in the world I do that, that's why. All right, so we've got that part done. Then I've got a couple pieces of the Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper, which again is from the current, I'm knocking things over, current annual catalog. This piece is cut to about 1.5 by about 5.5, and we're just going to stick that to the bottom of the card front with some Stampin' Seal. And then I've got the littler strip that's got the fall colors of leaves on it is cut to about 3/4 of an inch by about 5.5 inches. And again, we're just going to stick the pieces together. Whoop, I got a little gloober there. So, all right, and I'm going to line up the edges here, hopefully straight, before I stick it down for good. You can use liquid glue on that if you prefer. I prefer to use the tape runners just because liquid glue and I aren't always the best of friends. I make a mess with it sometimes because I get a little heavy-handed and then I end up with glue everywhere, where the tape runner is a little bit easier for me to handle. I don't make quite as much of a mess. I'm not going to say I don't make any mess, but I don't make quite as much of a mess usually with a tape runner. So that's why I choose to use that, but liquid glue would also work quite nicely for you. And as I say that, I do have a gloober right there that I can feel, and I'm just going to rub it. That's the one thing I like about the tape runners is I can just roll up the gloobers and they don't leave a big mess. Now I know you can use glue erasers, but I end up with glue everywhere. So I'm a sloppy gluer. So hey Barbara, thanks for hopping on today. All right, so got those two adhered together and hopefully fairly straight. I think it's fairly straight. All right, so we're going to set, gosh, I got another gloober there. Okay, before I stick my fingers to myself, let's move along. I went ahead and cut this ahead of time. Again, this is cut with the 3rd largest of the stitched rectangle dies, and I've just got basic white cardstock that I have cut with that die, and we're going to do a little bit of stamping here. I'm going to start with the outline images of the 2 squirrels, and I've got early espresso ink. So I'm just going to ink up the outline of the little squirrel that's sort of looking away here. Whoop, I got to make my ink pot out of the way. And hopefully I'll get this stamped on here right. If not, I'll have to grab another piece of paper. All right, so we've got that one done. And then here's my other little outline squirrel. Again, this is from the Nuts About Squirrels stamp set, which is a really cute one in the mini catalog. So I've got the other little squirrel here that's holding the acorn, and we're going to put him or her, I guess I don't know for sure how you tell if it's a boy or a girl squirrel, but we're going to put the squirrel over on the other side of the card. And then I've got the little tree branch that I'm also going to stamp in early espresso ink. And I'm just going to put that above the little squirrel over here that is kind of the crouched down squirrel. All right, so we got that stamped on there. And I'm going to close up this ink pad before I stick my fingers in it or have an unfortunate incident with my paper, which happens. This is gray granite. Let me grab my crumb cake ink pad. Although I guess I could have done a gray granite squirrel. It might have just looked a little weird with all the crumb cake everywhere else. So I've got crumb cake ink. And I'm inking up the more solid image for the little squirrel that's kind of crouched down. They're fairly easy to line up, and of course now that I say that I will probably mess it up. Oh, let me make sure I've got a good solid image here. What you want to look for is the eyes, the body, kind of the legs, and the tail. And it's not going to line up the way that you think it will, so just trust it when you see that the little feet are lined up in the ears and the eye. It looks like I'm a little off on the tail on this one, which I am. The tail was a little bit twisted, but now it looks a little more like a skunk, so we'll just call him a skunk squirrel. It should be lined up a little bit straighter, but it looks like I got a little crookedy when I was stamping it. So, all right, the other little squirrel I stamped in cinnamon cider ink. So, hey, Noak, I'm glad you're here. The boy squirrel has the nut. Okay, I trust it there. I'm not going to ask any questions about that. or even go down that path. So there you go. All right, Donna. Okay, so I have got cinnamon cider ink, and again, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm trying to line up the feet, trying to line up the body, line up the ears and the little tail, and then we're just going to stamp it down. This one I think I got a little bit better image on. Yep, looks like I got that one a little bit more centered. And all right, so that one looks a little better to me. Then we have got the little acorn image, which I stamped in soft suede, kind of lots of shades of brown on this one. We've got the top to the acorn, which I was running short on blocks, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm using all sorts of crazy shapes and sizes on the blocks. And again, just gonna try to get it lined up. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but I think that's pretty close to right. And then the bottom of the acorn, we're gonna stamp that on scrap paper and then stamp it over. The little thing that's on the side of it actually matches up with the little squirrel's paw. So that's how you line that one up. So there we go. That's how the acorn is stamped. And yeah, we laughed a little about boy and girl squirrels. So there you go. And I'm not going any further down that path. So, all right, so let me set that aside. Now we are going to work on the leaves. Nothing boy or girl about the leaves. We're just calling them leaves. All right, got old olive ink on the top of my stack. So that's what I'm going to use first. I'm going to stamp the little leaf here on the end in old olive. And again, these don't have to be perfectly stamped or stamped in any particular way. Just sort of put them at the end of the branch. And I've got to clean my stamps in between times because we're going to be using a couple different colors on these. So again, this one, hopefully I can get it lined up here. Again, it's a lot easier when I don't have a camera in between me and what I'm stamping, but they're pretty easy to line up. All right, so old olive, Cajun Craze is next in my stack, and I'm going to do 2 of those. So I've got one that's kind of pointing up here to the top and one that's pointing down to towards the bottom here. Going to add that one, I think, right over here. And then we're going to do the same thing with the little veins on this one. So we're just going to stamp the hey, Carol, thanks for joining today. Stamp the veined image over the top of the leaf. And same thing up here above. All right. I'm going to clean that one and clean the solid leaf stamp. And then we're going to do bumblebee. And that's going to be all for the stamping on the card front. And it looks like my Cajun Craze leaf got a little crazy, but we'll call it good. All right. So we've got bumblebee ink for the last one here. And just going to stamp that right next to the Cajun Craze one that I stamped all sorts of crazy. And I think we'll stamp that one right up here. And as you can see, each one of these are going to turn out just a little bit differently, depending on exactly how you stamp things. But it's all good. It's just a little fall scene. That's the main thing that you're wanting to get out of it. All right, so stamping the veins over the top of the bumblebee image, hopefully. All right, there we go. Okay, next up we are going to adhere this stamped panel to a piece of early espresso cardstock, and the early espresso cardstock is cut to about 3 1/8 by 4 1/2, and just going to use Stampin' Seal to adhere the 2 pieces together. And whoop, there we go. And then we're going to use Stampin' Seal to adhere it to the card front. Not Stampin' Seal, Stampin' Dimensionals, goodness. So, all right, Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere to the card front. Thanks, Carol. I'm glad you like the card. So, and I'm glad, yeah, the leaves are actually there. It's a cute little stamp set. Definitely one you should get. I think you'd like it if you did. So, oh, and thank you. You read the article. It was kind of weird to write that, I must say. They asked me a bunch of questions and then they put all the words together. So yeah, Stamp It Up did that. It was, like I said, it was interesting trying to come up with answers and, but definitely fun. It's been a crazy fun week so far and a little busy, but that's okay. So, all right, so we've got the card front mostly done. Next up, we're just going to do a little bit of stamping of the sentiment, and we're going to die cut that. Oh, sorry, throwing things around. I actually changed up the sentiment a little bit. So the first one I put the happy birthday on the outside, and then did the kind of hope you're feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on the inside. And I'm actually going to switch it up for this one. I'm going to do a hey there on the outside, and we're going to do happy birthday on the inside. Let me grab my early espresso ink, and this is Bumblebee cardstock, and I've just got a little leftover strip of cardstock, and it can be any old piece because you're going to be die cutting it anyway, so nobody's going to know what you started with. And again, I'm going to be using the banner die from the Tasteful Labels dies. And I'm just going to take this over to my die cutting machine and run it right through. So I'll be back in 1 second. So hopefully you all are surviving. We had some crazy weather here in New Jersey overnight. Some big storms. Supposedly we're supposed to get some more wind this afternoon. So there's always the concern of power outages here. So far so good. Should be knocking on the table. But my one daughter started school 2 hours late. The other one was on time. And the buses for the one that was on time actually weren't running this morning. So that was a little crazy. Had to go run one over to school while trying to get the other one ready for school. And, you know, same craziness as always. So, all right, so we've got our little die cut sentiment done. Next thing I did was took a couple of glue dots and adhered them to the back of the die cut. And again, placement doesn't really matter terribly on this because you're just going to be adhering little loops of linen thread to the back of the die cut. And I'm just going to wrap it twice around my finger and then sort of adjust it from there based on how I want it to look, how big I want the loops to be, where the dots are. And I can move it around a little bit if I want to make the loops a little smaller, which I think I do. Just going to take it and pull it a little bit shorter. And then do the same thing on the other loop. That's the one nice thing about the glue dots and any of the kind of ribbons and threads and that sort of thing. You can always rearrange if you decide that you don't like the way it looks as it is. All right, so I think we've got that one in an okay spot. And now I'm going to take my scissors and hopefully trim the ends down just a little bit. I think I need to turn this on a little closer. And let me flip it over and make sure, yep, I think that looks all right. So I'm going to take that, get my mess out of the way, and adhere it with a couple of, where in the world, oh, there are my dimensionals. I'm like, where did I put my dimensionals? A couple of my little half dimensionals. I'm going to take those and adhere them to the back of the sentiment. If you prefer the mini dimensionals, you can definitely do them. So, oh, you like the sentiment with the, yeah, I don't know. I kind of went back and forth. I guess it depends to me on who I'm sending it to. So, but it's definitely, either one will work. And so I thought it was just kind of fun both ways. So I figured I'd show you two different options and you can decide which way you want to do it. All right, so that's it for the card front. Again, I kept it a little more neutral so that it could, you know, I didn't want to bling it up too much and put anything frilly on it, since I figured it could go to either man or a woman or a boy or a girl, whoever you choose to send it to. All right, inside of the card. I have got the happy birthday sentiment. Again, these are all from the Nuts About Squirrels stamp set. And I've got early espresso ink. And we are going to just stamp the sentiment on the inside on basic white cardstock. I almost called it Whisper White. Yikes. Basic white cardstock. This is cut to 4 by 5 1/4. And again, all the measurements will be on my blog tomorrow, so no need to worry about that. And let me get the right little squirrel. And then we've got our little squirrel, the one that was kind of peeking around the corner here. I'm just going to stamp that squirrel here on the edge. Again, stamping it in early espresso cardstock. Early espresso ink, not cardstock. You can't stamp in cardstock very easily. And then I've got my crumb cake ink pad, and again, the same outline or the same kind of fill-in squirrel, and I'll try to stamp it the right way to show you that you can do it, although I probably will stamp it wrong, but we'll try it. All right, let me make sure, again, I've got a good solid image on there, and I'm sorry if I'm wiggling the screen. All right, so am I on screen? Hopefully I am. I'm going to try to line up the ears, try to line up the paws, the leg, and then the tail on the squirrel. And this one I think I got a little bit better image on than I did my one on the card front, although I guess his paws are off a little bit on this one. So maybe I've got the stamp on there. The other thing that I find, and I didn't test it ahead of time, is if I stick something on my block and it doesn't seem to be lining up correctly, I've probably stretched it just ever so slightly when I was putting it on the block wrong. So what you can do to fix that is actually take it off the block, throw your stamp face down on the table, and then stick your block to the back of it, and then it should stick to it correctly. Sometimes if you have trouble with the two-step photopolymers in particular, all it takes is for it to be just pulled a hair in one direction or the other, and then nothing lines up right. So, and I'm guessing that's probably what I've done, is either the outline image or the solid image is just a little bit off-centered from what it should be. So I probably should have tested it before I came on and went live, but I didn't. So, but that's definitely how you can fix it if you have that issue and feel like it's not stamping correctly. Just pull it off the block and re-stick it to the block, and then you'll be all set and good to go. All right, we're going to do a little quick crease here with a bone folder on the back of the card, and that's it for the card today. So again, 2 different cards, a little different sentiment on the front, but otherwise it's the same exact layout for it. Both of them are birthday cards, so it's a fun stamp set and definitely one that I think everybody should have. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you like the cards, and definitely you need to get the stamp set. Again, the details are going to be posted on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com. So feel free to hop out there and take a peek. I'll post a written tutorial for you as well as a video link, so you can hop back. And I'll also share in this video the link to the blog post tomorrow, so you can go there directly if you want to come back out and check out the video again. And let me know if you have any questions. I will plan to be back live on YouTube on Friday around 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And then back here again live around 2 o'clock Eastern Time next week, Tuesday. So thanks so much for joining. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday, and we will chat soon.